So to pick up, we're going to look at the variables that each one of these equations has in it and really what they mean and how to use them. So we'll start with our horizontal variables and very simply with x and xo. So this is my final horizontal position. And we measure that in meters. So if you're not in meters, you need to convert to meters in order to use these equations. XO would be my initial horizontal position, also in meters. And what you want to look for and what you want to see the pattern of is that as we go forward, anything with an X or an O is going to stand for horizontal and initial. So, for instance, the next variable, VXO, stands for initial horizontal velocity. And we use the unit of meters per second. Simply having Vx is final horizontal velocity. And again, we use meters per second as our unit. We also have AX, which is horizontal acceleration. And we're going to use meters per second squared. The key with this one, if you're looking for an easy one to remember, this is always 0 meters per second squared. So you're never going to have a number in horizontal acceleration other than 0. We always ignore air, so there's no horizontal acceleration from that. We never have horizontal acceleration in any of the problems that we're doing. And then we have t, which is time, and we measure that in seconds. So we've got our variables here for the horizontal side. We're going to look at the vertical side now. So instead of x's, I'm going to have y's. Again, based on the coordinate plane of a graph, your x represents the horizontal, and your y represents the vertical. So anything with a y, this is final vertical position, also measured in meters. Anytime we see the little sub-zero, means initial vertical position in meters. If I have VYO, initial vertical velocity, and we measure that in meters per second. Vy is final vertical velocity, also in meters per second. AY is our vertical acceleration in meters per second squared. And T, again in these equations, still stands for time, still measured in seconds. Another helpful hint for the vertical side, AY is always 9.8 meters per second squared. The only thing you need to be careful of is whether it's negative or positive. Remember, it's always going to be accelerating downward. So if you have called up the positive direction, this must be a negative. If you call down the positive direction, you need to leave this as a positive number. So it's always going to be 9.8. The positives and negatives could change depending on the direction that you've chosen to be positive. So some other quick hints and quick helpful tips for doing problems are related to projectile motion. Very often, x or xo will be 0. Also very often, y or yo will be 0. Position is relative. If I want to see how far I threw something or kicked something or something got shot out of a cannon and I'm looking horizontally, I'm probably starting at 0. If I am throwing something or I'm diving off something, very often I'll finish at 0. If I am seeing how high something goes in the air, maybe I'm starting at a 0 point vertically. Maybe I'm kicking a soccer ball and I'm both starting and finishing at 0 vertically. You really need to pay attention to the problem. Key words are started from the ground, ended up at the bottom. If I'm talking horizontally, they could say things like, how far did something go? How far away do I have to put something? Those would all be good indications that one of these or more are 0. You'll also find that frequently VXO or VYO will be 0. If they use the words like started from rest or horizontally, it was shot horizontally or it was shot vertically. If it was perfectly up or perfect down or perfectly horizontally, we know the other one is 0. If I shoot something perfectly horizontally, that means that VYO is 0. If something started from rest, then they're both 0. You may have a situation where VX or VY will be 0. Situation, the key phrase you want to look for there is came to a stop, or came to rest, or something of that effect. You should be careful when you're doing this. If something is at the top of its arc, that means that VY, the final velocity at that point, is 0. So it's still traveling horizontally, but we're no longer going up and down. So these have been definitions of what the variables mean, and some helpful tips and tricks when you're doing problems about places that may be 0 that is not explicitly stated. So read the problems carefully. If you have questions, please come see me. Thank you for watching Mr. Viola's Classroom Projectile Motion. Have a great day.